Hey guys, so this is my Saturday morning project. My son is having a problem with his computer. The CPU is overheating. This is an iBuy Power PC. It's a couple years old. We bought it for him for Christmas. It's set up for gaming. It's got a very high graphics card, an i7 CPU that's water cooled. That's the CPU cooler here. And it's been great. Working good. It's crazy fast until recently. So this computer came with a 1-year parts, 3-year labor, and I'm already past that. So what I did initially, I did some reading, and they said sometimes you can lose your connection between the cooler or have a void between the cooler and the CPU. And what goes there is what they call thermal paste. So I popped that plate off, cleaned it up, put some new thermal paste. It didn't do much. It lowered it a couple degrees, but I mean, when I say crazy hot, this thing is idling at like 95 to 100 degrees, and it just stays at 100. Again, sometimes it just shuts down. What I did is I installed this free software called HW Monitor, so that you can monitor temperatures, and it'll show you overall temperature and temperature of each core. It's been sitting doing nothing right now, so it's about 75, but again, if I let this sit down, or if I even went to Internet Explorer, it would just shoot up right to 95 or 100 degrees Celsius, which is around 212 degrees Fahrenheit. It's funny, we live in America and we turn our thermostat for our house, we always talk in Fahrenheit, or temperature outside Fahrenheit. But any kind of scientific anything, computers or anything else, we always just switch to Celsius. It's like for whatever reason, we're holding on to Fahrenheit. It's just funny, but for you guys in the Fahrenheit world, 212, I believe, is 100 degrees Celsius. So what I'm going to do is replace this cooler. I did call iBuy Power, even though it's out of warranty. The customer support was really good. The guy's like, yeah, do you know your way around a computer? I'm like, a little bit. He's like, it would cost a fortune for you to box this thing up, pay to ship it to us, pay for parts, because again, it's only has, oh, my light just went out. I'll have to change a battery. Pay for us to replace the part, because again, just labor is covered, and then ship it back. So it's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, yeah, no thanks. He's like, you can just replace it with a cooler if you know your way inside the case. He recommended I picked up this one. This is a Corsair H60, and this goes for about $70. I'll leave a link on Amazon if you're interested. Now, I didn't purchase this at Amazon. My son couldn't wait the 3 days for it to come in. So what I did is I ran to Best Buy, same model number. They matched the price of, because Amazon was cheaper. I think it was $70 on Amazon, $79 at Best Buy. The other difference, guys, if you can wait, I recommend you buy on Amazon, not just because I have a link there. But what I noticed is this Corsair, on the one at Best Buy, for whatever reason, same H60, but at Best Buy, this doesn't have an LED. The one on Amazon says it has an LED, so if that's important to you. But this is a 120 millimeter, and that 120 millimeter goes based on your fan size in your case. The guy said this is a direct replacement. It should pop on pretty quick, and he always recommends them for people out of warranty because they're solid and they're easy to replace. So everything I liked about that statement. So I'm going to go ahead and swap this thing out. So here's the components. I already pulled them out of the box. There's the cooler, and this part attaches to the CPU, and it's already got thermal paste, which is cool because I tend to make a mess out of that. I will have to clean up the CPU once I take the old one off. And it's got some brackets. Now, this cooler works for a couple different CPUs, a few different lines of the Intel. It comes with a bunch of different brackets, as well as the AMD. I grabbed the parts out of the box that match my CPU, and then this is like a cage again that matches mine, but it comes with a couple configurations. Some Intel CPUs you don't have to use this back bracket, and then it comes with like 2 of these cages that actually hold this piece onto the motherboard. For Intel, and one I believe for AMD. It also comes in with it comes with a fan. I don't know if I'm going to use this fan. I'm thinking I might just take this fan off here and replace the cooler and then pop it back on, and then just save this in case I need it. This has a two fan system. It's got a fan, it's hard to see there, it's got a fan in the front and a fan in the back. I kind of like that, and I think it's going to bolt right up, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes, and yeah, that's the project today. So let's go ahead and get at it. Take these screws off. And once I take this fan off, it'll give me a little bit better of an idea how much room I have in here to work. I'll keep everything organized so I know which is which as far as how it's going to go back in. Ooh, a little smaller screwdriver here. This should release the fan and the cooler both from the case. Okay. So I see how they had it. So the one, there's two screws that are small. And what that does is that actually keeps the fan in place. And then the longer screws go through the fan. And that actually, keeps both of them in place as far as the cooler goes. So I'm gonna leave that fan in that for now, because I may just slide this cooler out and slide the other one in if it works, and then I can just plug it and it should be pretty easy and save the fan. So now this plugs into the motherboard right here. I just unplugged it. See that right there? So I just unplugged it, and I'm going to pull this out. They have the cord wrapped around here, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that out if I can. They might have, see, sometimes they build these things and then they screw the motherboard on top of it, so I'm going to have to set the camera down and see if I can get this wire. I might have to cut it out. So I was able to get that out without cutting it. Didn't matter because I'm going to throw this away anyway. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull off this portion of the cooler. Now there is a wire that runs up over the motherboard down the back side of the computer, and that's just tapped into a 12 volt for the RGB lights on this logo here. I'm going to cut that and just wrap it with electrical tape, cap it off, because the new one does not have lighting. So here's that wire for the RGB on the cooler. It comes down and they have it plugged into this. This is just a power supply. So now if you're buying a cooler that has a light, an LED or RGB, you're going to want to use this to tap into it. I'm sure if you don't have an iBuyPower PC, you're probably set up very similar, but I'm going to go ahead and leave my options open. So I'm going to go ahead and snip this up here and just use some electrical tape. Just to make it easier to rewire something later. So I'm just going to split it and wrap it. You don't want it to short out on anything. So what I do is I split it like that. Instead of using a wire nut, I wrap a couple. I'm trying to do this on. But you can really do anything. This stuff is low voltage. Doesn't have to be perfect. But you do want to somehow just cap that wire. And then once you have it, I'm going to go ahead and tuck this back in the case. If you like mine, it's got wires everywhere here. So I just want to make my life easier if I have to add something as far as lighting goes. And here is the back side of that CPU plate. And I'm going to replace this after I take those front screws off with this backing plate. For no other real reason that it's a little thinner, so that may make a difference, but this is designed for the cooler. I figured why not, and I like how it has electrical tape, so I can stick it on the back without having to flip this thing upside down. So, but there is 4 screws just holding this on from the other side, the CPU cover for the cooler. So let's go ahead and flip this around now and go after these 4 screws. And we'll clean up that paste. So let's go ahead and do that now. This wire's cut off. This is just a Phillips screwdriver. So this is the thermal paste. That's what's in this tube right here, right there. That's the CPU. I'm going to clean that with alcohol. I have rubbing alcohol, isopropyl. I can say that. I'm going to go ahead and get it really, really nice and clean. The new water cooler actually comes with a layer of thermal paste, so I don't even have to apply it. So I got sensitive skin, so I'm going to go ahead and put some gloves. It's not toxic or anything. And I'm using paper towels. Some guys use terry cloth or microfibers, and that is because of lint. Microfibers have usually less lint, but if you use a quality paper towel, not the cheap stuff that those just like disintegrate in your hands, but if you use a decent paper towel, you should be fine. And you don't want it soaking wet. I actually put a little too much on here. Now, if you're just, taking this off and applying thermal paste, see how this is a copper? You would want to clean this as well. I'm not cleaning it because I'm throwing this away, but if you were just applying thermal paste like I did before, then, you'd want to clean both surfaces. That's it. So nice and clean. And here's the old cooler. I'm gonna throw this aside. So here's the new one. Let's just kind of get a layout. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this graphics card just to get some of this dust up. And it's got some double-sided tape. This is the old one. There's nothing holding this on anymore, so it just falls right off. And I'm going to take and pull this tape off. First, I'm going to make sure I know what orientation it goes. See, I thought at first this wasn't going to work, but these actually slide up and down a little bit to adjust for case size. Whew. Uh-oh. Don't want to, uh-oh. I accidentally hit the start button. Okay, where was I? Backing plate. So you have to adjust this a bit in order to get it to fit. Just moving these in. That looks good. Looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this double-sided tape and stick it on now. It's got some 3M double-sided tape. It goes like that. And I'll stay. Flip it back around. Radiator will mount like this, and I'll go ahead and put the long screws that I took out before. I think they're going to be the same size. Yeah, that'll work. Well, I have screws though. Let me see. I have the screws that they gave me. I think they're the same. They're the same anyway. I don't know, the thread don't really feel right. No, they're the same. So I'm going to reuse the screws from the case, from the computer. Let's just see. The advantage of that is they're a perfect length. There it goes. There we go. So the nice thing by doing it this way, I don't have to, it's basically plug the cooler in and go. So this fan goes here. A little dusty up there. So far so good. I'm gonna go ahead and mount this cooler now. This is the part that I don't know if it's gonna line up as far as the size, as far as being able to fit in here, that is, because of these hoses. But I'm gonna go ahead and try it. I have to put this case, before I do that, I have to get this case ready with these bolts here, the ones I took off that plate. And there is do the rest of those. Here they all are. So what this is it's a little stem, a standoff, I think they can also refer to it as. And these will screw right into that backing plate that we put on back there. Before I put this, well, I guess I can't. I was going to say before I put the paste on, I'll dry fit it. But the paste is already on, so I have an extra tube in case it doesn't fit. I got to pull it back off or something. Even the guy at iBuyPower, he said he preferred if I can make it work to keep the 2 fan setup. So that's what I'm trying to do. But like I said, I don't know. I might need that couple extra inches to clear this panel that goes on here. So that's what it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do now, it fixes with these thumb screws. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off and try to be careful. This is the thermal paste. It's already on here. Yep. And I'm going to line it up, all fours. Try to get my big fat fingers in here. Last one, then I'll tighten it up. Okay, found my screwdriver. Now they're thumb screws, but they also have a Phillips end on them, so you can use a screwdriver as well. Just snug. You don't want to over tighten them. And for this, I'm going to plug it back into this I plug that back into its factory position. Tuck this wire back. And that is it. Now nothing to do but to fire it up. Much quieter, much quieter. Let's see what this these CPU speeds, or CPU temperatures rather, are doing. So let's go ahead and look at the CPU temperatures. Big difference. At idle, 32, 35 degrees Celsius. Basically room temperature. Well, a little higher than room temperature, but that's what it should be at idle, is anywhere from 30 to 40 degrees Celsius. Looks like this worked, guys, and pretty easy. I mean, more time was spent messing with the camera, trying to get the angle. I'd say as far as how long this would have taken me, especially since I didn't have to do any rewiring, I used the same fans and everything, 10 minutes, because I didn't even have to apply the thermal paste. If you guys are having issues with cooling and you're not familiar with water-cooled CPUs, don't be afraid of it. It's pretty easy and a lot easier than I thought. So, all right, hope this helped someone out there, that if your or your sons or daughters' computers are having issues and you're just a normal dad like me, don't be afraid to dive in and give it a shot. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.